to the show, everyone. We have a very special guest here today. I've got my man Jeff here, a blast from the past, man. I met Jeff a long time ago, man, when we first started training in mixed martial arts and pursuing jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, and all that stuff, man. That was about like 2005 when I first started.
Yeah, I think about 2005, 2006, something like that. Yeah, right around that time.
So we're going to talk about some UFC, the beginning of UFC, some good fighters, some good fights that we like watching and all that stuff. And I'm going to start this off with a few warm-up questions, my
Sure.
man. All right, so if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
The superpower question. See, this we could do the whole show just on the superpower.
Just on superpowers,
Yeah.
man.
So the way I look at it, there's a lot of different things that you would think, right? So you say, really, if you look at superheroes, right, they have like a whole package. It's not just this one guy has one thing. So if you so certain superpowers to me is a little bit ineffective on their own. Like if you could just fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to kill yourself learning how to fly. You know, so the first time you go flying around a block, you're going to hit a semi or something and, kill you. So if you're not invincible, flying ain't really doing much good for you, And like invincibility, live forever.
Exactly.
There's certain things too that where that's not going to really be all that great either because, somebody could potentially just like lock you in a cell or something forever.
Yeah.
So then I was thinking about like, I guess I would try to make like what's the monetary value, I guess. Like you can make some money. You could try to live a little bit longer than you normally would. So I think I would go with like being able to control time. So you could potentially look forward into the future for advancements in medicine, like that type of thing. If you have like some type of a disease, you could obviously win the lottery fairly easily. You could gamble on the Super Bowl fairly easily, so you could have that little monetary type of thing going on. If you knew like something was going to happen to you, car accident or something, you could avoid that. So I think that would be like the practicality would be a lot more than just, well, I'm like super strong, okay, but okay, super strong, what? You're going to go, if you like, join the NFL or something, I guess, like, what are you going to do with it,
That's true.
So, I would probably do like a time control. Some other stuff would be cool too, maybe like if you could be like invisible. Yeah. That's just going to be probably creepy after a while, Like, what is that freaking curtain rustling around? Jeff's over there hiding behind the curtain again, invisible.
Invisible man.
Yeah, invisible man, right? Everybody want to go in the women's bathroom or something. You go in there once, you're probably never going to want to go back in there again anyway, There's a one and done, So I'll probably do like a time control, man. I feel like there's a lot of... You can also do like I'm a big history guy. You could go check out like Wild West. You could go check out the Roman times. So that would be cool. That would be pretty cool.
It would. I'd really like to see like the Romans how they lived, like the actual gladiator arena.
But then you could come back.
Yeah.
Because you realize like back then it sucked. There's no air conditioning. There's no like running water. I like all that kind of stuff. So you could just go take a look, 10 minutes. And then come right back, Yeah.
Another thing I'd like to probably check out would be like, the beaches of Normandy.
Sure.
June 6th, man, when that was.
That's not, you're not even getting 10 minutes there.
No.
Like about 30 seconds of that, and you're like, man, I'm good.
This is hard.
This is wild, man.
Yeah.
That was really, they really captured that really well in that Private Ryan, man. That was like
Private Ryan. That was pretty good, man.
People always say like the intensity of combat, which is like a thing that sometimes they don't capture. That was just like where you've seen it 30 times, and every single time you're like on the edge of your seat. Every time, they did a great job with that. Yeah, for sure. Tom Hanks and all that. Yeah, that was really cool. I checked that out for about 10 seconds. I probably had to get out of there. Okay, guys, good luck. I'm out.
Jeez. Oh man, that's some crazy stuff here. So, all right, another question for you.
Shoot.
Let me know your top 5 MMA fighters.
We're jumping right into it. Okay.
Not jumping right into it.
But this is just a quick thought. Okay, I'll give you, I don't know if this is the concrete list, but I'll give you 5 guys that I've liked over time. And maybe try to hit like a little more obscure than like the normal people. I like, I'll say like Damian Maia.
Okay.
Was always one of my favorites to watch.
He's a good fighter.
Because you knew exactly what he was going to do. He's not going to knock you out.
Mm-hmm.
He's not really a big wrestler. He's going to drag you to the floor and submit you. And he told you. You know, he's like, here it comes. And then people couldn't do nothing about it, you know. When he, I think he was fighting Matt Brown, who was like a beast.
Man.
But he could be on the list too. That Matt Brown could be number 2, another guy I love. And he was losing that fight. And he pulled Matt Brown into mount. He let Matt Brown have the mount.
Yeah.
And went out the back door and took his back and submitted him. That's how confident the guy was with his jiu-jitsu. You know what I'm saying? That he would let a guy like Matt Brown get on top of him.
Okay.
And go out the back door. Crazy. Matt Brown, he could be on that list too, man. Crazy cardio.
Mm-hmm.
Always came to fight, tough as nails. Yeah. You know, kind of one of those guys that's wasn't too fancy with it. You know, he's more of like, I like the guys that are like more of a fighter than an athlete.
Like a scrapper?
You know? Sure. That's like, you'll see a similarity in the guys that I like. You know, it's like, there's guys that try to beat you at the sport of MMA, and then there's guys that come in there and try to beat your ass.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and then number 3 would be Wandy, of course, Wanderlei Silva, the axe murderer, of course. Tank has got to be in there, you know. And there's your guys that they came in there, and you're coming beeline across that cage or the ring or whatever it was, and
they're gonna kill you. They're gonna rip your head off.
Either that or you're gonna kill them. One or the other, you know. And I mean, there's so many good guys. It's tough. I was like Rich Franklin. I was a big Rich Franklin guy. He was like one of the first guys that kind of brought like the well-rounded. Not one of the first guys, but one of those guys that brought like, he was a big cardio guy for the 85ers. You know, he was like one of those guys that could go and a huge 85er. Yeah, he was. You know. And he was like one of those guys like that was doing that big weight cuts at the big divisions, brought a big cardio game, and very well-rounded. He could do everything. He could strike. He could. He was good on the floor. You didn't really see him too much on the floor, but and he had the anti-wrestling. You know, a lot of times, excuse me, like being a good grappler, allows you not to grapple. You know what I'm saying? Like Chuck. Like Chuck was a accomplished wrestler. I'm not sure what his like accolades were, but him being that good of a wrestler allowed him not to wrestle. You know what I'm saying? Like, you had to take him down, and it was tough to do, so he got to do what he wanted to do. So I could probably make, like I said, make a list of 100 guys, but I just throw a quick 5 at you, you know?
We could go, we could go all
day. Yeah, we could go. There's like so many of these guys, too, they don't get mentioned in a lot of conversations. I guess because, you know, time goes on and stuff, and people forget, like, how good, like, Rich, like, if you want, just going back to Rich was the best 185er if there was no Anderson. Yeah. Nobody at 85 was beating Rich except Anderson. So you're like, there's nothing wrong with being the second baddest 185-pound man in the world. You know? There's one guy you can't beat up. You could talk shit to anybody else in the world. There's just one guy in the whole world that you're like, I ain't messing with that guy. But Anderson just had his number because he was a better Rich. He did the head movement, the boxing, very long and rangy, well-rounded, but just the better version of it. You know what I mean? He wasn't doing anything different. He was just doing everything better. You know, because remember Rich, he was always shucking and jiving. He had good head movement. He always had a real long jab. He was southpaw, so he had a real long and right jab, too, that he'd stick you with.
He was southpaw,
so, yes, similar to Anderson. Just Anderson was a Rich 2.0, you know?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no, like I said, there's no shame in being the second baddest at 185 in the world, you know? But we'll leave it with that, and we'll probably get back into more people that come to mind and stuff over the years. Man. But yeah. I'll probably put like those 5. I'll probably think of some more people as we go along.
I know, man. So for me, myself,
shoot,
I got Fedor Emelianenko.
Sure.
He's the last emperor, they call him, man. He was the man. Big Russian dude. Man, his style, his fight.
Respect.
It's just crazy.
Yep.
Crazy. It's good stuff.
It's very poised. You know, hard to get that guy rattled. You know, deceptively good cardio.
Absolutely.
You know, like he didn't have the 6-pack and the, you know, he was kind of like a little, you know, I don't want to come through the door and kick my ass. But you know, he's a little flat. He was a little flabby around the midsection, but very poised, always under control.
Yeah.
Real hard to hurt him. You know, if you remember when he fought Randleman.
Yeah.
Randleman picked him up and power bombed him on his head, and he submitted him like 30 seconds later.
Yeah, man.
What? I thought he was dead.
I
was like that kills the normal man. That's a superpower right there. If you want to go back to a superpower, getting slammed on your head and just he was a freak to Kevin Randleman, man. That dude talking. That's the opposite end of the spectrum. That guy had muscles on Brussels. You know what I mean? Yeah. He was all. But yeah, Fedor, of course. Yup. One of the greatest heavyweights of all time for sure.
Oh man. Kazushi Sakuraba.
The Gracie Killer.
The Gracie Killer, man.
Yes.
He was the best at jiu-jitsu that ever did it. That's what I believed, and from what I saw, you know. So he was definitely the jiu-jitsu guy for me. I will go with Robbie Lawler.
The ruthless one.
He's
still around doing it too.
Still around, man. Man, he is still around doing it. But yeah, he's one of those guys that he's just a grinder.
Yeah.
He just grinds you out, man, and everything. Those fights, brutal fights, man.
He's interesting too because he's not really like he doesn't have like one big action. Like he's not really like a big like he knocked out guys in the beginning,
he did.
but like it was weird. Like he knocked out like Tiki Gorham, which we never heard from again.
Yeah.
You know, like he was like he said, like he's like a Matt Brown type of character. He just grinds you out, tough, always comes in shape, always comes to fight. I mean, still to this day, like 25 freaking years later,
Still fighting.
The crazy one with Robbie was when Nick clipped him, Nick Diaz.
Oh yeah.
That's when I remember watching that fight and losing my. I mean, like if everybody thought that if Nick was to win, he was going to take him down to the ground and he'd get the better of him there, you know. And he clipped Robbie like a check hook. Somehow it's like, and you just hit that right button, man, and that was that. I don't think Nick's knocked anybody out since. Not that I can think of. You know, like he's more of like a submission guy. You know, he had that like crazy Gogo Plato on what's the guy? I think Fireball Kid or something. I can't remember, but yeah, he's had some slick submissions, but he's not a guy that knocks anybody out. And when he clipped Robbie back in the day, we were like, whoa. That's why it's so crazy. But yeah, Robbie, much respect, and of course Nick too, of course.
I definitely have to agree with you with Vanderlei Silva. Man,
Sure.
I first saw that guy in Pride. It was, I can't remember what Pride it was, but it was like Guy Metzger. He fought Guy Metzger.
Yeah, from the Lions Den.
And that was it. Yeah.
Yep.
Man, that was such a good fight. After that, I was sold on this guy, man. Then
It was terrifying. First of all,
oh, absolutely.
That's like not a guy you want to run into in an alley. You know what I mean?
Not
He's
in
a
Brazil.
wild dude. No, definitely not in Brazil. You ain't gonna make it. You ain't gonna make it back out. Yeah, and he had the show where he was just doing the rolling his wrist and that stare down to death. Yeah, man. And he was one of I love Wanderlei, of course, on the list. Check. Easy one, man. He come right at you like a beeline. Either he get knocked out, and he'll do it again tomorrow night. You know, he's built different, man. And he got like a nose surgery. Yeah. You know, to make his nose breathe. He looks crazy. He's a crazy looking. Like, you see that dude, you're like, yeah, that dude will fuck somebody up. You know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that guy. You know, he's a bad dude for sure. 100%.
And I have to say, I'd have to agree with you with Rich Franklin, man.
Franklin. That's a dude that doesn't get the respect, I think, or just even the discussion. You know, like people forget how good he was at 85. Maybe the talent pool wasn't that deep at 85. You know, like some of the guys he beat, a little weird, like Edwin DeWeese. You remember that guy? Like I'm like, I don't know if this dude should really be. But you got to fight the guys that they put in front of you. You know, sure. You can't. What are you gonna go pick somebody out of the crowd? Like if this is who's next,
that's who's next.
That's who's next.
Yeah, that goes into it, man. To where I've kind of like stopped watching UFC now because I feel like that the way that the fights have gone, it's a little bit too politicized. It's a little bit too, I don't know. I kind of saw this a little bit during my fighting career.
Sure.
And I'm sure you probably saw this too as well.
Sure. I don't know if you could call what I had a career,
Yeah.
but I got in there. You know, I did my best. You know what I mean?
Bro.
I did my best.
That's all that matters,
You know?
man. You
Yeah,
get in there. And,
but I get what you're saying. I guess to expand on that, like, that's a touchy thing for me. Is that I think that nowadays it's this thing where you have to be. Of course, you have to be a badass, 100%.
Yeah.
But you also have to like have this like sell tickets. Like,
absolutely.
there's these two guys, and this guy gets a title shot, but this guy doesn't. Why? Because this guy sells more pay-per-views.
Okay.
Well, if you want to just have a sport where we just make the matchups, let's just make the matchups. Or if you want to have a sport where you're going to make this a legitimate NFL, MLB, like, because if it were just about selling tickets, the Red Sox and the Yankees would be in the World Series every year. And I know they're both in the American League, so don't quote any comments about that. I get it. But if you wanted to really put the two teams that would sell the most World Series tickets and make the most money, you put the Red Sox and the Yankees in the World Series together every year.
Pretty
You know,
much, yeah.
so this thing where you can talk yourself into a certain ranking because you sell more tickets, I think it does a discredit to the guys who really put the legwork in. You know what I mean? And there's like the whole Kobe Covington thing. You know, like how he was kind of, he's a grinder. You know, he's not a big knockout guy, wrestler, take you down, grind you out type of guy. Some people don't like to watch that, you know.
That's the thing,
And but then he had to create this whole persona, and he talks about it. He said, "I'm just doing this because it pisses people off and it sells tickets."
Shell's on it, man.
Exactly. And it's like if there's a genuine, beef between the two guys, and it plays out, that's fun to watch. But where it's something where they feel like I don't have to hate you to fight you in the cage because it's your job. Like two guys that can have complete respect for each other, be cool, and still go in there and bang it out. That's what I would look for, And not to say that you have to be Lawyer to Machida or something like where you have to, be. He was always real soft spoken, but that's just these guys are just not being themselves. I feel like it comes across corny to me. Like very corny, where it's and then you get guys that are like Kobe is a good example, and then you get guys that are real street dudes, like Jorge, for example, and then Kobe's talking about his mother, his kids, this and that, and George found him in a restaurant, busted him in his mouth. There's certain people that they don't realize that when some guys are doing it for the cameras, some guys are doing it for the money, and then some guys. That shit don't fly.
Yeah,
that shit
true.
don't fly. Like or Khabib, like you're talking about this. Like Conor said,
Conor,
I know I'm jumping around, but there's I'm just making instances where like what you're saying, this happens. And it does. Where it's like you're talking about this dude, his religion. It's very devout, man. And you start you're I'm gonna say something funny about it to make money, but he don't. What? The guy drives like a Toyota pickup truck, like a shitty one. I know Toyotas are expensive now, but over in Kazakhstan, he got like a B2000, like 1996 Toyota truck. He don't care about the money, man. He cares about his family. They take that very, very seriously, man. And if you step over that line, some of these guys they cross
that line.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and you saw he jumped off the cage and freaking jumped on Dylan Danielson.
Like in the crowd and all
that
stuff.
He beat this dude's ass. He's going to go beat somebody else's ass too, man. Crazy. Crazy.
Oh man. All right, so let's backtrack this all the way back.
Back it up.
When, in the moment in your life, did you start watching UFC? When were you like first introduced to this? Do you remember that time?
Sure. It was in the 90s for sure. I guess like the first UFC's like we'll say 94, something like that. And at that time you could get it like on a pay-per-view, but I don't think that like my parents even had like the option of having a pay-per-view. Yeah. I think we were on still on the Rabbit Ears program, you know what I mean? Where you put tinfoil on the thing. So, but you could get like the fights on at Blockbuster, like on a VHS tape, you know what I mean? So a couple of guys we were like into it, I think I was a mechanic at that time, and just work with a bunch of guys, and we would get rent one of the things, and then get barbecue or whatever, and watch the fight. So I was in the very beginning, I was interested in it. not from the martial arts aspect necessarily, but just like, oh, these guys are about to fight each other like in a cage on TV.
Bro.
You know, I'm in. You know,
It's like modern day
so
gladiators.
and then I think like probably the first fight was that I saw was maybe even the first fight ever was the sumo guy, which I don't remember his name, and then it was I think Gerard Dedeaux who he fought. He was like a kickboxing guy with like the white pants. The guy like shot a shot on him, missed, and then this dude soccer kicked the dude like right in the teeth. I can't remember the dude's name who he fought, but I'm pretty sure it was Gerard Dedeaux, and he kicked this dude's like teeth in the first round. And I'm like, this kid, is this like legal to even watch? You know, because in the '90s it was very different. Nowadays, like you go on YouTube and you see murder and freaking people getting run over by a car, all kind of shit. Now, back in the day, there wasn't. It was very PG world, so to speak.
Yeah,
you know,
pretty much. Yeah.
So I saw that and loved Tank instantly. You know, because he looked like a guy that I was drinking a beer with at the bar. You know, he was.
They
for
walked
sure.
right inside the thing.
So I saw that. And that intrigued me because just the fighting aspect of it. And then when Gracie came, I think he was probably UFC 4 or something like that, if my memory serves me. And you got this dude where he's using these techniques that like the freaking like the palm. Well, you know, like there was always these like mysterious techniques that nobody knew. Like that was always like the appeal of like the kung fu movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And somehow you see this dude like Chemo or like Shamrock or Dan Severn or whatever. These guys are big guys and they know how to handle themselves. And you're like, you see this dude, he's like 165, like this dude is going to get killed, man.
I know.
He's just doing crap to people that nobody knew what it was.
Oh yeah.
Which I also was like, oh wait, there is like some secret shit out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
So that was definitely appealed to me too. Definitely was interesting. And like even early on. They had like a football player, I think, that was like one of the guys who was the commentator. Mm-hmm. And Gracie fought this guy, Jason DeLuca, who came out with the Kung Fu pants, like those black Kung Fu pants, like the red bands and all that stuff. And he had this dude in an armbar. And this dude is like, stretch, tap, 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 tap. The ref is looking right at it. He don't know what an armbar is. Yeah. The guy who's commentating doesn't know. He's like, the guy's tapping, I don't know what's going on. And this dude's arm is doing a left turn, you know, or a right turn, or whatever it was, you know? And it was like, I was like, there's like secret moves, you know? And I was like, the secret moves always
man.
I don't know what he just did to that dude, but this dude's arm is like jacked up now, you know?
Yeah, man. But that was the thing, yeah, like in the 90s, I remember a buddy of mine, he's like, hey man, come check this out. Fucking puts in the VHS tape, man, turns it on, it's like UFC, I forget whatever, man. And it was Hoist Gracie versus like Ken Shamrock.
Right.
Okay? And he's like, all right. He's like, this is what this guy does, this is what this guy does. Who do you think's going to win this fight? That's what he said to me. And I was like, oh, I'm a wrestler, high school.
Right.
Ken Shamrock. I think he's going to win. So they get into it, man, and Hoist Gracie, man, tapped him out. All that stuff.
Now that fight, didn't Hoist tap him twice? Didn't he have like a choke or something? Mm-hmm. And Ken did like and Hoist let him loose. And then he said he didn't select it. Yeah, I think there was one of those. It may, I don't want to misspeak, but I'm pretty sure it was a Shamrock fight. And he might have had like kind of like a bulldog choke, like type of thing, like a headlock, like a scarfold headlock type of situation. And Ken Shamrock did like I don't want to tap, but just like a thing. And Hoist let him go, and then the ref is like, fight, or something. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was
I have
with
to
Ken.
rewatch that and all that
Yeah, but I know exactly what fight you're talking about. Ken had like the red freaking Hanes briefs and like white taper. I mean,
yeah, man.
That's when it was raw, man. You know, that's when it was raw.
And back in the day too, man. Like there was groin strikes. It was
always took groin strikes too, man.
All that stuff. Like this was like street fighting. This was like real brawl. This was like real fighting in a cage. Man.
Right. It was pretty much as close as you could get to it. For sure.
No eye gouge.
But I don't think that even initially, I guess that there was like nothing. But you didn't see a lot of like the strikes as far as like kicking and stomps to a down opponent. Yeah. You just there's no like big highlight. Like head kick KO from like a down opponent. I guess it was legal. It's just that nobody ever got into that situation. But the groin strikes for sure. Everybody knows Keith Hackney, Joe Son, is like, I mean, everybody's seen that replay.
Yeah,
Just to
just
do punch
sitting there,
the
punch
dude
a guy in the
1,000 times, like an excessive amount of times in the nuts.
More times than I would take.
Yeah, somebody would say maybe too many times. You know what I mean? But headbutts were big, man, and that's one thing that I think that they like. Maybe it should be in there now. Because, I mean, it's a valid technique for sure. I mean, punching it in the nuts, of course. You know, that's how. But like Mark Hammer Coleman, he was very effective with the headbutts.
Yeah, man.
You know, he would get a side control type of situation over under and just headbutt you to death. You know, or Mark Kerr with the smashing machine.
The smashing
Sure.
machine. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think the headbutt's a valid technique. You know, it's interesting which ones what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to.
Well, I think they changed all that to be more sanctioned, to be more professional, like a professional fight.
Right.
So before they didn't have weight classes; it was more like a catch weight.
Right.
They would have like the David versus Goliath. That was exciting.
Right.
They also had a tournament style, so you'd have to fight like 5 fights in a night to get paid.
Kumite.
Yeah, bro. Kumite. pretty much.
People. Yeah, that's another thing that doesn't get brought up a lot. Is like when you're looking at like the greatest. Like, there's always this GOAT conversation, which is a new thing. You know, I don't remember like years ago talking about like the GOAT who's the greatest of all time. You know, but it's like people don't talk about the fact that like when it was Hoist, you know, that he was fighting 2 or 3 or 4 times in a night.
Yeah.
You know, which is something you have to, you know, take into consideration. Like if you do lose, but you fought 3 fights that night, you know, you didn't have some of these guys. I mean, some of these guys. And once again, I'm not talking shit. Everything changes, whatever. And also, I don't have much of a career, so not like I'm a freaking guy. But I'm a fan, and I have a working knowledge of it. Is a lot of these guys fight twice a year or something, you know. And these guys fighting 2 or 3 times at a night. It's tough to compare, you know.
Absolutely, man.
You know,
it's a whole different thing, man.
It's a whole different game. It's a whole different game. But I liked it. I loved it then, and I love it now. You know, it's different. It's different. I loved it more back then.
I mean, again, I kind of like fell off the train of like watching the fights, man.
Right.
Just because, like, number one, it gets me so excited. I'm like, man, I just want to get back into it. I just want to keep doing this. I'm like, but I'm old.
I'm 40.
I'm old and falling apart.
I'm not falling apart, but I got the little duct tape and a little freaking toothpicks holding me together, you know. But yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, man.
But do you feel like? I have a question. I'll start interviewing you.
Go ahead.
You know, do you feel like it's a little oversaturated too? Because there's like it used to be an event like maybe every 2 months and then once a month, and now it's like 2 or 3 a month. You know, and there's the little guys all the way up to the big guys, and then there's the up and comers and stuff. And also, it's not cheap to watch this shit.
No,
you know, like am I paying? And
you gotta pay.
There's like 100 guys you got to keep up with. And then everything, I can't do like $90 a month or something like that to watch these things, you know? So I feel like it is a little oversaturated.
It's oversaturated. I feel like the breaking point when it kind of really like hit the mainstream was when they had the Ultimate Fighter show.
Right.
The Ultimate Fighter show, when it was like a weekly episode, once a week on TV, it really got it out there. And that really sparked everything on Spike TV, you know, really got everyone interested in watching and all that stuff. I feel like that's when it kind of like, that was the tipping point. And then the whole UFC finale where they had the 2...
Yeah, Stephen Bonner, Forrest Griffin.
Yeah, Forrest Griffin.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would disagree that was like a big part of it coming to the mainstream for sure.
Yes. But like you said, it's oversaturated, but at the same time, there's so many fighters.
Right, and good and great fighters.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's just, how much can I keep up with? You know what I mean?
It's too much, man.
Right.
It's way too much. It's overwhelming. Like I said, you know, it's just like, I keep up every so often. I'll check out results if I see someone that I like.
Right.
Or something like that. And, you know, I think I watched someone fight with the, what was his name? The heavyweight champion right now.
John Jones.
John Jones,
Yeah. Oh yeah, I wanted to see how we would look against Strogan. Yeah, I was interested.
I don't know. I was a little disappointed in that fight.
Tough, but it's easy to have an off night, as we both know. You know, I think Gon had an off night for sure, and a lot of the guys too. I mean, there's the bright lights, and then there's the even brighter lights,
Oh,
and then
man.
there's the brighter. There's a degree. Like
Absolutely.
like when you're playing. Are you playing high school football or Pop Warner, or are you
Exactly.
playing college? Or are you playing in the NFL? Or are you in the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
It
bro. So,
escalates,
yes,
you
this
know.
is true.
And he looked great
This is true.
against the big knockout guy, Derek Lewis. He looked great against him. He did exactly what you're supposed to do. Stay away from the right hand, peck with the jab, leg kick, inside leg kick, cut kick, all that stuff. And put it together. And that guy is a very weird dude to fight because he can always knock you out.
Yeah.
And he did exactly what he should have done. He stayed, like I said, he stayed away from it, worked from the outside, and then put a pace on him he couldn't keep up with. And then I was like, okay, this guy is smart, he's experienced. And then he looked across the cage and he saw the mother of all John Jones. And then
man.
he didn't show up.
That's
And
true.
it happens, And
does. That
taking
mental-
nothing away from John. John's a beast. But I didn't feel
Yeah,
like we
man.
even got to see what
A
he
really-
is
Yeah, that's the thing.
at heavyweight. So, and that's also Daddy Dana is a smart dude,
Yeah, he
and
is.
now I'm probably going to buy the next one to say,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean?
Watch it,
So
yeah.
Daddy Dana ain't a billionaire for no reason.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's
He
doing.
knows what he's
He knows
doing
how
for
to
sure.
promote them fights and put.
And there's a lot of interesting stuff for John. I hate that
Oh,
it's
yeah.
going to be 80 hours or whatever to see each one, but I would love to see him in Stipe.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see him in Francis. I would have loved to see that fight, just to see what could happen. John's a better fighter, but that dude Francis,
But Francis
he
ain't got
could
him,
kill.
man.
He could kill you. He could kill you at any time.
Man.
He could
It's
kill you
so
at any time.
crazy.
I would have loved to see that. There's a lot of interesting ones at heavyweight for John, but
Yeah.
we'll have to wait and see what he does. Stipe, I would love to see. That dude is a guy that every single time, because he's not particularly good, like great. I don't know, he's not like he's a good wrestler. He's a good boxer, good striker, decent submission, but not really super great at anything. But also freaking like 8-time heavyweight champion, so he's great at something.
Yeah.
But he's just like not a dude that knocks you dead. He's not a dude that does like a real slick. So he's like one of those guys that's like tricky good. And he's not a guy that will falter under pressure. When the lights are on, he shows up. He knocked out Verdum in Brazil. That's a big thing. Just going into Brazil is crazy. The people in there really want to freaking kill you. The guy doesn't. You don't need to worry about the guy in the ring.
Yeah, yeah.
You're worried about freaking the guys in the crowd throwing a freaking axe at your head or something. They're crazy down there, man.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. We'll see what brings. If John is going to even fight again, I guess he is.
Yeah.
And
I
we'll
believe so.
see what it brings for him for sure.
Yeah. Man.
I'm excited to see it, and unfortunately, that one we didn't really get to see.
Yeah, we'll see the next fight and all that stuff. So, when I felt like that UFC was kind of like, I wouldn't say going mainstream, but they were more being regulated with stuff.
Sure.
Here comes Pride. Here
Right.
comes Pride over in Japan.
Right.
And they were doing soccer kicks, were legal.
Right.
What else? I think headbutts were, maybe headbutts were legal. And they were still doing the David versus Goliath matches.
Oh yeah, the Japanese, they love the big guy, little guy. I mean they paid Bob Sapp about $1 zillion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Bob Sapp, he was huge, man.
crazy. He's like 340 pounds and like 6% body fat.
Solid muscle, man.
Nuts. But not great though,
No,
like,
really not
technically,
good. I mean,
not
it's
great,
like
but if he,
hammer fists.
he falls like a caveman. You know what I mean? But yeah, Bob said, but the rules were interesting in Pride because I don't think that they had it really right either. Because I mean, you could stomp a knee to a down opponent for sure, but there was no elbows
No elbows because they.
for cuts, which I get it, but to exclude a viable technique because like it might end the fight, but it's still a technique.
I know, man. So
It's tough for me to say, like, if we're going to try to get this as close to a real fight as we possibly can, unless it's like, like you said, groin strikes, hair pulling, eye gouging, fish. Like the old, I forget what the old boxing rules were, but like there was a name for the old boxing rules where it was like, you can't, like all those old rules were they've always been the rules. You
Yeah.
can't poke their eye out, you can't fish hook, you can't kick them in the groin, you can't pull their hair.
Yeah.
Everything else, like kick, punch, knee, at any time is a valid technique.
Yeah,
And then you're also changing the like a grappler, right? So a grappler will have certain advantages and certain disadvantages. A
Absolutely.
striker's going to have certain disadvantages,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So you're given like some wrestling guys or grappling guys an opportunity to stall when you take away knees or kicks to a down opponent because they can shoot and end up on a single or a
Yeah.
failed double and take that like little turtle guard position. And sure, you can punch it, but you also can't punch to the back of the head. So they can get in that little turtle guard position and stuff like that. Right, and then you saw that knee, like that big, like high tower knee type of thing in Pride a lot, where guys would get stuffed on a shot, and then they would come with that knee from freaking the Empire State Building, you know what I mean? Like crushing knee, or stomp or kick to the even. Like you can kick to the body, kick to the head, like that. So I think that the truth lies probably somewhere, maybe in between. Like the no rules crap, which ain't the answer, or like the like highly regulated crap, which ain't the answer either. It's probably somewhere in the middle,
Yeah, somewhere in the middle there, man. But yeah,
grapplers have a lot of disadvantages with the modern rule set. Number one, you have gloves, so that's easier to grab onto the glove to defend. In a choke, it's harder to fit it in small spaces.
Absolutely.
Like if you have the
Yes.
back control. There's also no striking to the back of the head. So if you were striking to the back of the head, anytime you had someone's back, you wouldn't even go for a choke.
no,
You would just one elbow to the back of the head, and that thing it's a wrap.
that's it.
You're also 5-minute rounds, and and if you get the guy to the ground, and then each 5 minutes you have to start over again. You need to start over again. As you know, like jiu-jitsu is a game of longevity. You can get a guy who might be bigger, stronger, faster, but you get him to the ground and he can't go anywhere. Eventually, you're gonna be able to catch him with something.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's the thing. Like the Americans, all Americans, they want to see those knockout
Right.
finishes, man.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when
That's
the
true.
fights went down to the ground,
Sure, they want to stand up.
they're like, come on, they're like booing the crowd and all that stuff, but they don't understand that the technical part of the fighting is happening right there.
Sure.
And sometimes people are stalling because they're winded or exhausted,
Right.
things like that. So I mean, like that also plays a part of the fight game as well.
Right, making it exciting and everything with that. I see that. I see both sides.
Yeah.
But also, if the guy can take you down and you can't get up,
Oh yeah. He's gonna beat you.
it's on you. If you don't like it, then get up. And if
Yeah.
you can't, then he should be able to hold you down. I mean, it's part. Of course, unfortunately, it's not as exciting,
Yeah.
but it's part of it. It's just like if a football team, if all they can do is run a ball, 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 and you can't stop them. It might not be as exciting as 80-yard touchdown pass
Yeah.
or whatever, but it's part of the game.
It's true. Man. But man, the fight game, I don't know, man. It's just so crazy.
It is great.
With all, like back in the day, all you had was different people from different styles. Like you had a straight up boxer,
Right.
you had a straight up wrestler, you had a jiu-jitsu guy, you had all these things, and then you kind of like just threw them in there. I think even like a karate guy, like a taekwondo guy. I can't remember the one guy. He had like one boxing glove on.
Yeah,
I can't
Art
remember.
Zimmerman was that dude's name. Yeah, he fought Hoist, but he had one boxing.
One boxing glove out, man. Like no shoes. Some people had shoes on, man.
Right,
crazy.
right.
And then now recently, I got to start watching. They got the bare knuckle fight.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. I've been watching a lot. Not I wouldn't say a lot of it, but I'm following it, and especially when you see guys that are old MMA or older MMA guys that
Yeah.
are transferring over and stuff like
I
that.
think like Robbie Lawler.
Sure, yeah, Robbie Lawler. Trying to think, but yeah, you see a lot of guys. Diesel Joe Daddy Riggs is one of the guys. Quite a few guys. Chad Mendez is over there. It's interesting too. Like, they're limited with like the way they can strike because you're worried about like damaging your hands, which is interesting.
And I think that's why UFC went with the gloves.
Right.
stopped the headbutts because I think like fighter longevity
Sure.
was the thing.
Right. And also shorter rounds. They're doing a smaller ring. You know what I mean? So it's almost like forcing the guys to engage a little bit. You know what I mean? Shorter rounds. You know, so the guys are limited on time. Like I don't know exactly what the round structure is. I forget, but maybe it's like 2-minute rounds or maybe 3 at tops, and it's like 5 threes or 5 twos or something, which is similar to what Glory did with the kickboxing. So it's like, you have less time, there's less of a feeling out period. Because like you said, like the casual fan, they don't want to see, the guys measuring distance and, throwing a couple feints and seeing what the other do. They want to see a slobber knocker, for lack of better words. You know what I mean?
Yeah, get up in there.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, what are they? It's a minute into the fight. Why aren't they killing each other? Oh, come on, man. It's a long fight. When you have a championship fight, UFC or whatever, 25 minutes. It gives them a feeling out period.
Oh yeah.
People don't want to see the feeling out period. A lot of casual people.
Gotta check out your endurance, his endurance.
Right.
You gotta check out your.
Sure. If I do this, he does that
stuff.
type of thing. Yeah. Yeah, getting a feel for the guy. When there's less time, there's not a lot of time for that.
But I can't just imagine like the amount of pressure and stress that like someone is out there for like a UFC like title belt. It's like, as you were saying, like with the Super Bowl, like that nerves, man. That's like draining.
For sure. And also, there's things that people don't even think about. Like if you don't win this fight, you don't get to pay your mortgage. You don't pay your fight, your kids don't eat. There's your kid goes to private school. There's a bill when you walk out the door to go get in that cage. There's a bill for $8,500 for your kid to go to school.
Yeah.
If you don't knock this dude out, your kid don't go to school.
Yeah.
Or your freaking car, or your car's going to get rebooted. Or stuff like that. Man, that's the stuff that these guys deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's on a larger scale. Maybe it's like their Ferrari is going to get, but it's still, the life that they're accustomed to.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys, man, they're fighting for small peanuts. Maybe 20, 30 grand a fight, which seems like maybe a lot, but you get like maybe 3 fights a year, so you make 80, 90 grand or something, let's say. And you're paying for your gym, all your supplements, if you have a chiropractor, whatever, recovery, your trainers. If you had to fly in a boxing coach, fly in sparring partners, that 90 grand ain't 90 grand. It's 60, and then the taxes. So it's with the way these taxes are, you made 60, you probably get 32.5. That's probably what you walk home with. Yeah, people don't think about that, man. Not to mention just being out there, and even you and I know that. You're out there in front of your friends, your family.
Friends, family, man. You got a amount of stress and pressure.
And then God forbid, they're on the big stage. You got to be you're in freaking Buffalo Wild Wings eating dinner with your wife, and there's a video of you getting your head kicked off on TV. Laying there.
I know, man.
You know what I mean?
How do you recover from that?
You don't, man.
Man.
Like even like you get a guy like Askren. He was like untouchable for many, many years. I think he was like a champ in 2 different promotions.
Yeah.
And then everybody knows him as the dude that Jorge starched. That's the only thing that people know. Hey, aren't you the dude that freaking got knocked down in 1 second? I had a whole 30 freaking fight career before that. Yeah, we don't know nothing about that. Nobody cares about that.
Nobody cares about all that stuff, man.
Yeah. So that you're only as good as the last time you got your head kicked off,
Oh man, I want to backtrack just a little bit again. And do you remember when Rich Franklin, he broke his hand, and he was out doing seminars?
Sure.
He actually came.
Yeah, training.
Here to South Jersey
for sure.
For that seminar, man. I think that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was such a good time, man. It's like the first time I actually met like a UFC champion.
Yeah.
Right there, man.
That was when I first started to realize that this shit was not for me. Because I fought at like 85-ish, and he fought at 85-ish, and this dude looked like my dad.
Bro.
You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
He was huge. I was like, there's no way this dude weighs 185 pounds. No way.
He would cut down.
Yeah. He was huge, man. He was a big dude. And he did the little circuit loop. I was there, but I actually didn't even get to train because I was injured. If you remember.
Yeah.
I had sparring injury. I'm gonna leave it at that. Somebody freaking beat me up too bad. You know you are. I'm not even giving a shout out. You know who it is. Somebody who's always kicking people through weight machines.
Oh, bro.
I'm not even giving him a shout out. But he knows who he is.
That's good times, man.
Yeah, man, really good time. Really cool dude, down to earth.
Yeah,
you know, easy to talk to. Smart guy. I mean, he was like a teacher.
He was a math teacher.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Man, that's good stuff.
Yeah, Rich is a good dude.
So let me ask you a question about. Let's get into the movie aspect of the MMA movie franchises.
All right.
I never saw, Never Back Down.
I don't even know what it is.
Exactly. I think that was
Oh, it's like Ryan Reynolds or something. He did there's one clip from there that's always on like YouTube where somebody did like a spinning kick and they're like, oh, don't ever showboat, and people are like, oh, that's like a popular clip that's around. But no, I never saw it.
Did you watch The Warrior?
Nah.
Man.
That's
I think that was pretty.
Maybe
close.
I did like on a flight, but maybe I had like when I'm on a flight, I have 2 or 3 Jack Daniels on the rocks. Maybe I'm zooming. You know what I mean? So if I saw it, I'm pretty sure it was Tom Hardy.
It was Tom Hardy and someone else.
And then the guy was his brother or something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I remember broad strokes of it.
Yeah.
Well, if it's worthwhile, I'll watch it. I'm a movie guy. I like movies, you know.
I think that was the closest, not the best, but I think that was the closest to capturing like the whole MMA thing, and it was pretty cool because they filmed it down here in Atlantic City.
Right, they were from like
the
guys were from like a hard knock neighborhood or something, and there was something with their dad. I remember, and that guy who played their dad is like the drunk dad in every movie, you know. Like, and you don't even know his name, but if you ever saw him, you'd be like, "Aren't you the drunk dad guy?" He's like, "I don't even drink." Well, you're the drunk dad to me, you know. That's the way that I know you.
Oh,
you know? Yeah. The other dude who was like the brother or something was somebody too. I can't remember, but. Yeah, that was I guess that was. Like I said, if I saw it, I don't remember, but I give it a rerun for sure.
Yeah, man.
There was a couple other ones. There was Red Belt. I don't know if you remember that one. Mm-hmm. It was like more of like a jiu-jitsu heavy, like MMA movie, but the guy had like a gym or whatever, and he's like on hard times, and like he had to like enter like a MMA tournament to like pay for the gym. But that movie had a lot of people in it, like MMA personalities and that type of stuff too. But once again, my memory ain't so great. I don't remember about it, but I remember watching it like, this is not so bad. This is not the worst thing ever. Not the worst thing I've ever seen. For MMA movies, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
you know?
I'll have to check
Never Back Down.
No,
I don't know.
That stuff on.
No,
oh man,
I'm good.
So where do you see the future of MMA going, man? Like, what do you think?
I don't know, man. I think it's like everything else, honestly. And I hate to be the. I'm like a pessimistic dude by nature, you know. Like I always think everything's going to turn to shit, anyways. Well, I don't think that I don't think in MMA or things in general that things getting bigger is necessarily things getting better.
Well, I mean, like, do you think like we've seen guys fight in cages for years? Do you think there's going to
that there's going to be like they're going to try to turn it up like
death matches?
There's already bullshit out there.
I'm sure.
I mean, there's the slapping thing.
Yeah, the slapping thing.
Which is freaking produced and like endorsed by freaking the UFC.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do. If someone comes up to me and they're watching that, I'm gonna slap you. This is the stupidest shit I've ever. Did you see the slap fight? I'm about to show you a slap fight right now. This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life.
I'm about to have one.
And then overseas, like the crazy Russians and shit.
They're like doing like multiple fights at time, all that stuff.
I don't think that'll ever be
mainstream
for sure. But like the bare knuckle is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
They have like the fighting style Lethaway. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that, but it's like it's a spin-off of like, not a spin-off, but like a derivative of Thai boxing. But but where they use like a rope hand wrap instead of a glove, and they allow headbutts. And there was a guy, man, and this dude was a bad dude. I'm not trying to disrespect by forgetting his name, but he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was showing his like training, and like headbutting is like, you know how you like 1-2 kick, whatever. He's like 1-2 elbow, and like he would do headbutts on the back and shit.
Bro.
Yo, wow, I mean 1-2 kick headbutt or something. Pop, pop, pop. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was like like I said with the headbutt, it's a very viable technique, especially from a clinch or like a top position, like ground control type of thing. And that's just one of those things where I don't understand why this is legal and this is not legal. And I do understand it, but I don't want to understand it, is what I'm saying. It's like, it seems to me, like many things, that somebody who doesn't know shit just looked at a video or something and said, how does this make you feel? That's fine. Like punch. Okay, how does this make you feel? Elbow. I don't know. Okay, we'll do that. How about like if you go like that? No. Oh no, that's too crazy. Like, but this is good, but that's not good. It seems like it comes from like a very uneducated place, and I don't think that like with the UFC now, like that there's, at least with the UFC and even the smaller shows, there's so much money that becomes involved in it that I don't think that anybody's going to like really try to take it back to the drawing board as far as that goes.
Nah, it's good.
Like the bare knuckle is interesting. Like if they had like a Lethway organization, I'd be interested. But you can't get people to watch Glory.
Yeah.
And people, which is also freaking weird, because people say they don't like the ground fighting. They're not interested in the jiu-jitsu. They're not interested in the clinching. They want to see people bang. And if you watch Glory, I mean, it's 3-minute rounds. In a freaking cage, it's like 10 by 10. Or I'm sorry, a ring, it's like 10 by 10 with 6-ounce gloves or something, or 6-ounce or 8-ounce boxing gloves, and guys banging. And for some reason, nobody watches it.
It's not the UFC name, man. That's what it is. I think that is too.
People want to watch the UFC.
They want to hear, fighting in a cage. I mean, like they got that, man.
Right.
The cage fighting thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, like what sells, like to the uneducated viewer, what sells and what doesn't. And I try to make like a rhyme or a reason of it, but I don't know. Like I said with Glory, like it was on a little bit. You see it like on Showtime or whatever, and there was just like no interest in it.
I know, man.
I don't know why.
I'm gonna keep watching the old school fights, man. With like BJ Penn, Matt Hughes, like all those good days.
There's like there's no shortage.
I know.
Like you could binge and binge. There's no shortage of like the old fights to watch, which is great, Yeah.
Oh, bro, it's great, man. But yeah, man, those guys really started off, man. They set everything off, man, with Gracie and all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, and it was sketchy back in the day. Like you didn't know if you were going to get paid. You didn't know if you were going to walk out of the cage and get arrested, because it was illegal in like more than half the country.
States, yeah, man.
Yeah. So you didn't know if there was like nowadays, like they have like plastic surgeons cage side. You get caught. They have like a legit guy to stitch you up. And so I remember fighting like a amateur show that I was on, that my buddy was on. And his dad was, I don't want to get everybody in trouble or whatever, so we'll just say his family member of this guy, that we're not going to say who it was not really, like maybe he was in the medical field, but not a freaking plastic surgeon by any means. And he's in the parking lot, like doing like stitching, like sutures on people. You know what I mean? Just like in the back of like an SUV. You know what I mean?
Well, man, I gotta tell you, man, but that's what it was like back in the day.
Yeah.
It was so cool. It was just like, it was so underground and everything. Like my first fight was in a fucking high school gym on a fucking weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
The Rollaway probably, right?
No, it was at like Southern Regional High School.
Right.
Something, I can't remember.
You're like, oh, dude, I'm coming out of like the locker room. You're in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And you're like standing barefoot in like there's pee all over the floor or something. You're like barefoot. You're like, dude, what is this?
But the best was my second fight, which I think was your first fight at the Battle of the Pier, Ocean City, man.
Yeah.
That was still hands down one of the best moments in my life, man. That was such a good venue.
It was like despite themselves, it was a good venue. Like it wasn't even like the promoter that made it great. It was just a good spot to have fights.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like the way the cage was oriented in the thing.
You know what I mean? Man.
Yeah. That was the one thing with those old amateur shows, with there were like 29 freaking fights or whatever. Dude, if you were like number 20, like you go in there, like do what you had to do, and you might as well just like leave and come back.
Man.
Like, the fight card is 5 hours long or 6 hours long.
Like 3 hours, man. Oh man, and I remember we had so many fighters at the gym. Because it was like right in our backyard, man. It was just so much fun, man.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
I would have liked to win, but it is what it is,
Bro. I lost as well, man. You
can't always win, bro. You can only ever win if you're me. But whatever, you go out there and fight. We had to go fight, and at least for me, I feel like I had to go fight and tough guy to fight too. That's the thing that another thing that people don't know is like amateur, like the amateur stuff is crazy.
So the amateur role's even crazier.
Weird. Yeah, like so if you're like a grappler, then you're like a fish out of water because like this guy can punch your head off standing up. Oh yeah. But then if you take him to the ground, you can't punch him.
Yeah. Yep.
I had a fight where I took the dude down and mounted him. And I was in the mount for 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I was just like punching him in his shoulders because you can't hit him in the head. Exactly. I was able to put this guy away in 15 seconds. You know what I mean? Yeah, very weird with the amateur rules, man. Very weird with the amateur. With the elbows, I could get, for sure. Amateur, you got to go to work tomorrow and stuff like that. But like, if I can punch you in the head standing, I should be able to punch you in the head on the ground. Yeah. Don't make any sense.
It would have been, like for me, the one fight was like, you can't, like, if you knock someone down, you have like a standing count or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Some BS.
And the standing count, like I saw a lot of people get, like, I don't want to say like more or less hurt or because I don't know like what their actual physical outcome was or whatever, but like, I've seen guys get like dropped and then the ref put them back on their feet and the guy's like, you really want me to hit this dude again? Yeah. Because if you're getting in there, you're a tough dude. Yeah. And if your family's there or whatever, you're not gonna last thing you want to do is like verbally tap and be like, I'm done. Yeah. So I've seen dudes like get rocked and be like stars in their eyes, they get an 8-second count and then the guy go in there and freaking punch the dude's head into outer space. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, dude, there's no reason for this to go on. Because you have like amateur fighters and then amateur referees. Oh, but it makes like a very dangerous situation. And then a standing 8 count. Freaking what? In what MMA is there a freaking standing 8 count? None, dude. There's nowhere there's a standing 8 count. You know?
Man, we did some crazy shit back in the day.
Yeah.
It was some good times. But I mean, like, I don't know, man. It makes us who we are.
I'm glad I did it, but I also like give people too. They're like, I'm getting ready to do like an amateur fighter. I'm like, why?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're like, what? You're crazy. I'm like, so what, man?
Yeah. Like I see like people telling me now though, I'm saying like I'm gonna tell. I was like, why are you doing that? Like if you're like legit, like you're gonna go to the show or whatever, and just like do it for fun. There's a difference too. Like the guys now are a lot more dangerous, I feel like, than in our time. Mm-hmm. Like you get guys that are like, even in like the little period of time I was doing it, there was guys that were like maybe a good boxer, but they couldn't really wrestle, or maybe like the guy was a good wrestler, but he couldn't really box or something. Guys were kind of like, it was like a feeling it out until like when I was getting ready to be like, I still training a little bit here and there, but like any interest in fighting, but I was still cornering some guys, and like I'm cornering a guy who's like 2-0 against a guy who's like no fights, but he's a freaking jiu-jitsu black belt.
Yeah, man, that's great.
Like 17 years. Like a 17-year-old, like legit, like freaking Henzo black belt.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? Like, and you're like, okay, you're an amateur fighter, sort of. You know what I mean? Or you have like, this dude has 29 Thai fights or something like that. Exactly. You know? Like there's, it's changed.
That whole amateur thing, man, which was crazy, was the one guy I fought, he was like a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. That didn't end well, obviously.
Right.
The other guy that I fought, he was... he used to fight professional boxing.
Right.
Then he transitioned to amateur mixed martial arts and all that stuff. So that was you see what I'm saying? Like, it was crazy back in the day.
Sure. And the promoter don't give a shit. They're just trying to put 37 fights on this card.
Exactly.
Because that's the only way that they can make money.
And that's the other thing, man. People wouldn't show up for fights. People wouldn't wait for fights. All that stuff, man. It was just...
Which is crazy.
No one's getting paid unless you're selling a percentage of tickets.
Yeah, I think I got like $110 or something, whatever. Yeah, like I've got knocked out for free plenty of times at a bar, so $110 is better, But I think that the one dude that I fought, I think I was training for maybe not even a year, and he had his own school.
Oh yeah, yeah.
and my dumb ass is like, I'll fight him.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever. You know what I mean?
Whatever.
What are you gonna do,
man?
I'm glad I did. The dude was cool. He just was like, thanks for not beating me up too much.
It was good times.
Yeah, man.
Good times.
Yeah, we had fun.
Yeah.
We had fun.
Young and dumb, man. Young and dumb, bro.
Stupid as hell. But fun.
All right. We're going strong here for about an hour.
Damn, it's been an hour already, huh?
All right.
I told you, man. I'll make your job easy, man. I mean, especially when talking about this stuff.
Oh, bro. Well, I would love to have you on the show again.
Yeah.
And before we wrap this up, do you have anything you want to say, man? Any shout outs or anything?
Oh yeah, I have to shout out to my wife, of course, Dominique. Because I gotta go to sleep at some point, you know. So if I don't give her a shout out, you know, it could be a situation. And of course, to my mom, Mother's Day coming up. Love you, Mom.
Yeah,
of course.
Mother's Day.
Without Mom, none of us would be here. Shout out to all my boys, all the brothers, all the fools. Love you guys. And hopefully I can come back, man.
Absolutely,
This has been too easy, man. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna talk about for an hour, and I can't believe it's been an hour. This is easy, man. Good stuff. Man. I enjoyed it, brother. I enjoyed it.
Good. I appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah,
I appreciate
of course,
you taking
man.
the time out of your day,
No doubt.
coming on the show and everything. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. If you liked so, write a comment, share, like, and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Check us out. If you guys have any favorite UFC fighters, boxers, or anything else like that, write it in the comments below. Any UFC fights that you guys like, write it down there in the comments below. Other than that, hopefully you have a great day. Thank you very much.
Later.